Also today in Parliament, in the Senate, the Liberal Senator Concetta Fierravanti-Wells has ratcheted things up a little, demanding the Australian Navy be used to, well, curtail Chinese action in the South China Sea. She's admitted that China is a key trading partner, but said that its, quote, values and beliefs are different to Australia. She's accused Beijing of violating international law in the region.
Beijing has failed the test of being a good international citizen in the South China Sea and should be held to account. We should be calling out Beijing and utilising our Navy and working with other countries to exercise right of innocent passage through international waters. Appeasement should never be an option.
Appeasement should never be an option. Of course, this follows Andrew Hastie making a similar point, another Liberal backbencher in a somewhat contentious column that he wrote in the Sydney Morning Herald. Should we be calling out China more often? Well, today, a very interesting report from Reuters in relation to a cyber hack. You might recall, before the election, we heard confirmation that the Australian parliamentary email system and the three major parties, the Liberal Party, National Party and Labor Party, had their email systems hacked as well. Well, today Reuters has confirmed something most suspected, that China was behind this. Reuters says it has spoken to 5 people with direct knowledge of the report that was done by the Australian Signals Directorate with input from the Foreign Affairs Department as well. That China's Ministry of State Security was responsible for this attack. Well, let's talk more about this. I'm joined now by Fergus Hanson from the cybersecurity expert at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Thanks for your time this afternoon. Firstly, any surprise to you that China's Ministry of State Security was reportedly behind this?
Absolutely not. It's right from the get-go, it was outlined that this was a sophisticated actor. Everyone was pointing to China then as the #1 suspect, and today we've had it informally confirmed via a leak to Reuters. Just remind us how serious this hack was. Well, this is an attack that goes right to the heart of our democracy. It happened right in the lead up to the federal election. It was a breach of the Australian Parliament and it was a breach of the major political parties in Australia. So in the context of having seen, for example, in 2016, the US presidential election comprehensively manipulated by Russia, it was pretty significant that we had a sophisticated state actor undertaking attacks on both the Australian Parliament and the political parties. And there was lots of information that could have been used to disrupt the election. As it turns out, it appears that that didn't occur, but it certainly would have provided a lot of insight for China to understand the different positions of individual politicians and the political parties. Yeah, so the point here is that this apparently wasn't about manipulating the election result, but gathering information about policy proposals. Well, that's right. There was a lot of misinformation in the federal campaign, but so far there hasn't been any significant evidence of foreign interference in the election. So this would appear to be more about trying to understand what positions individual politicians have, and potentially, you know, with the expectation that it was going to be the Labor Party that was going to win the election, understanding in particular, I think, Labor Party positions on issues that might affect China, or positions that the coalition was developing and hadn't yet announced. Now, the advice apparently from the Foreign Affairs Department was for the government to keep quiet about this, at least not name China as the culprit here for fear of upsetting the trade relationship. But this very leak would seem to me, Fergus, to suggest that some of those, quite a number, 5 in particular, did feel the need that the Australian people should have confirmation that this was China's, this was the State Ministry of State Security. How important do you think it is to actually name the culprit in a situation like this? Well, I think it is important to get into a routine of naming and shaming the countries that are undertaking attacks that we regard as unacceptable. And here we're in a bit of a halfway house because we've clearly got someone at a very senior level in government indicating that they want the public to know that China was behind this attack, but we're not coming out and officially making the statement that it was China. And unfortunately, that sort of puts us in this middle ground where we're sort of saying, hey, we know it was you, China, but we don't yet have the confidence to come out and say, to make it official and to make the attribution directly. And that's a shame, I think, because we've made attributions in the past with Russia, with North Korea, and China when we've done it collectively in the case of intellectual property theft, but we've never done it when it's just been a case that just involves Australia and just involves China.
Do you accept the risks that are involved there? I mean, would this lead, if we did it, if we said, you know, officially from the government that this was China, could there be trade consequences?
Well, we sort of are already saying it. We're just not saying it with the same degree of strength. So we've had a whole pattern of leaks like this where we've informally attributed to China, whether it's the attacks on the ANU, on the Bureau of Meteorology, on defence contractors, and now this case. So I think we've got to the point where we are naming China, but we just aren't doing it officially. Maybe it'll be a bit sensitive the first time round, but I think we've got lots of other examples we could point to, and I think it's the quicker we can make this into a routine thing where we call out countries, whoever they are, who do this, the better.
All right, Fergus, Hanson from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, thanks very much. I suspect it won't be the last time we talk about one of these cases. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.